Okay, let's start off with a slip stitch, slip knot, sorry, and chain 4 to make our center ring. And we'll join that with a slip stitch to form the ring. All right, for round 1, I'm going to make a stacked single crochet. So I insert my hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then I'm going to insert my hook in the left bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So that's a stacked single crochet. You can do a chain 2 or chain 3 instead. It doesn't make any difference. I like this because it hides and blends into those double crochets a little bit better. So you can do a turning chain if you like. All right, to complete the first granny stitch, I'm going to work 2 more double crochet in the ring. Then chain 3 to make a corner. And in the ring, I'm going to do another granny stitch, so 3 double crochets. Then I'm going to do that 2 more times, chain 3, another granny stitch. All right, to end round 1, I'm going to do 1 more chain 3 corner, and then join to the top of that stacked single crochet or your turning chain, whichever you decided to use. And that completes round 1. So there's round 1. So the method I'm using in this particular granny square is a little bit unconventional. It means that I'm working in the space that's to the right of my hook. So normally I would move to the left, counterclockwise, but I'm going to start that first corner here. So I'm going to work a stacked single crochet in that corner by inserting my hook, yarn over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then I'm going to insert my hook in the left bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So now I have that in the first corner. Chain 1. Then in this chain 3 corner, I'm going to work a granny stitch, chain 3, and another granny stitch. All right, so there's my first complete corner, chain 1, and I'm going to do the same thing in each corner around. I'll get to the other side and show you how to work that last corner that we started in. All right, I've chained one here, and I'm ready to work finish that first corner that I started the stacked single crochet in. So to start, I'm going to work a granny stitch. And a chain 3 corner. And then remember, this counts as a double crochet. So I only need 2 more double crochets to finish that first granny stitch I started. So I'll work 2 more double crochet in that corner. And when I'm finished with that, I will simply join with a slip stitch to the top of that stacked single crochet. Okay, and then that blends in. I finished round 2. To start round 3, I have to slip stitch to get into the chain 1 space. So I'll do that. And then again, I'm going to start with a stacked single crochet. If you'd like to do a turning chain, you can. So I'm going to work my stacked single crochet and 2 more double crochets to complete a granny stitch. And then in the corner, the chain 3 corner space, I'm going to work a granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch, just like I have before. And then chain 1, and I'm going to work a granny stitch in that space, in that chain 1 space from the round before. So granny stitch here. And when that's done, chain 1. So I'm going to work granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch in the corner, and a granny stitch in the space. I'm going to do that pattern all the way around. I will finish up round 3 and meet you at the end. So I'm at the end of round 3. I have chained 1, and all I need to do is join with a slip stitch to that beginning stitch. And round 3 is complete. To start round 4, I'm going to start it exactly the same way I did round 2, with a stacked single crochet in the space behind my hook. So stacked single crochet. Then I need to chain 1. Then I'll do a granny stitch in that next chain 1 space. Then chain 1. Then in the chained 3 corner, a granny stitch. Chain 3. And another granny stitch. All right, so chain 1. So for the rest of round 4, I'm going to work a granny stitch at each one of those chain 1 spaces, granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch in the corners, and I'll follow that pattern all the way around, making sure that I have a chain 1 along each side between the granny stitches. So I will meet you at the end of round 4, where we'll join to finish. I've arrived at the end of round 4, and I'm going to finish this round off like I did round 2. So I have my stacked single crochet in that space, so I need to add 2 more double crochets. And that completes the granny stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch to join. And that finishes up round 4. All right. So as you can see, I've worked granny stitches in each one of those chain 1 spaces. I've worked granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch in each corner, and that completes round 4. To finish off the square, I'm going to do a round of single crochet around it. So all I do in this case is I skip the chain at the beginning. So I'm not going to do a chain 1 turning chain, just because it makes it a little bit cleaner edge without the extra bulk here. But I am going to pull that loop up just a little bit higher. So I'm going to single crochet in the same stitch, single crochet in the chain 1 space, single crochet in each of the 3 stitches of the granny stitch, single crochet in the chain 1 space, and keep doing that across to the corner. So you're single crocheting in every stitch and in every chain 1 space across to the corner. Okay. When I get to the corner, I'm going to work a single crochet, chain 1, and don't make it too tight, single crochet. All right. And then I'm going to continue working a single crochet in every stitch and chain 1 space across to the next corner. So I'm going to do that, and I will meet you at the other end of round 5. All right, I've reached the end of round 5, and it's time for me to join. So I'm going to show you how I invisible join for the end of a square. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch to join, pull out the loop, and cut the yarn and leave enough that I can thread onto my tapestry needle. So take the loop and pull it out of that stitch and thread that onto the tapestry needle. All right, to invisible join, and what I'm talking about when I say invisible join, I've actually already joined. So what I'm doing now is working the top loop so that it blends into the edge and we won't see where that join is. The loop that's coming out of that stitch needs to be the same size as the loops around it. So I just need to pull that up a little bit just to make sure it's the right size. So when I pull the yarn over this way, it lays flat against the stitch underneath, and that looks about right. So I'm going to skip the next stitch, which is here, and insert my hook, my needle, under the top loops of the next stitch and thread it through. Then, to complete that loop, I'm going to insert my needle back through the center of the original loop, which is here, and pull through. Now you can see that that loop is slightly too large and it's a little bit loose on this side. So I'm just going to take this side, pull it a little bit tighter, pull it through, and now that loop matches the ones around it and becomes part of the edge instead of seeing bulk where I tied it off. When I've done that, I go back and I weave in the end so that I can get my square ready to become the envelope. So I've woven in all of the ends and it's time for me to make this into a card holder. So this is the right side of my square. You can see that is the right side because all of the loops slant toward me. That indicates that this is the right side. To actually seam this, I need to turn it to the wrong side facing up. So I'm going to turn it over. And then I'm going to orient it by turning it a quarter turn this way so that I have the corners up and down and side to side. To start, I'm going to take the bottom corner and fold it up. The center lines up with the center of my square. And just to keep that in place for the time being, I'm going to pin it down. After I've done that, I'm going to take the right hand corner and do the same thing. Match that center up with the center of the square. It's approximate. It's not, completely accurate. That will work itself out when we seam it. So I pin that down and that side is done. Take the left hand side and left hand corner and pull that in just as you did the other ones. Line it up, pin it down, and now we have the envelope starting to appear. So our next step is to take a piece of yarn and we're going to whip stitch a seam from this corner up through the center, catch this side, and then come back down to this side. Now, trick is that I've got that chain 1 in round 5 that I'm going to use as the center stitch for each corner, and that's going to line up. And I want to count to be sure that they're lined up. Let's go back and thread our needle first, right? So we thread the needle. The yarn that you use only needs to be about 12 inches long. So what we're going to do is just check to be sure that these line up. So here's the center here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is where it starts. So I'm going to just insert my needle, under the outer loop to the inner loop across the way and pull it through with enough left that I can sew that in when I'm done. And then I'm just going to whip stitch through the inner loops of both sides until I get to the center. Now, to make that a little bit easier, I'm going to take this pin out because I don't really need it now that I've got it figured out. So we'll go back here, sew this up here. All right, so I've arrived at that chain 1 there and the chain 1 across the way. So I'm going to make that stitch, finish that up. And then I'm going to go back through that center stitch, but this time I'm going to catch the center stitch of the opposite corner, which is here, and start whip stitching down this direction. Take your pin out if you need to, and we can take this one out as well. And then I'm simply going to whip stitch down the side like I did on the opposite side. All right, when I've gotten to the end, I just have to make sure that that's closed. So I don't have any more stitches to whip stitch into. So I'm simply going to go back in through either here or here just to secure that and pull it to the inside like so. So that is all sewn together. To weave it in, I'm going to turn that inside out. Maybe go through here one more time just to secure the end of that. And then I can just simply weave in the ends any way that hides it in that envelope. All right, that's good enough for now, and we'll trim that off. And I still have that one end that I need to deal with. That's this one at the very beginning. So I'm going to thread this onto my needle. It's not going to be very long, so make sure that you leave enough length to finish this off. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the opposite side. Just go over a couple of bars, thread it through to the inside, turn it to the inside, maybe secure that one more time with another whip stitch so it doesn't come out, and then just weave it in. All right, that will be good enough for now. So we'll take the needle off, cut that excess. And as you'll see, I have my envelope all finished, like so. The top flap is that last corner we haven't used, and by folding it over, we have our gift card holder. Now I'm going to show you what I do to close that up. I've chosen a button. I can use this paw right here. I would sew that right there at that junction where I just sewed it together, but I've already got one done, so I'm going to take this one and show you what I did. So I sewed this on the inside. You can kind of see where that is inside. I've sewn the button there in the center. Insert my gift card, and then that's where my button is going to go, right through that corner like so, and my gift card holder is finished.